So, we're back after a delay of only 93 years due to COVID. We have returned. I hadn't used this projector thing ever since, actually, and all the batteries had entirely corroded, so that was fun. That's how long it's been. But we have returned. The main thing is, I still have my hair. Right. And a hat with a Yeti on that I bought in Canada. Do you know what they call them in Canada? Grandad hats. You feel really good when you go and buy a hat and it comes up on the till saying Grandad hat. Thanks, Canada. Right, anyway, I'm going to set this thing off, which hopefully means I won't have to rustle with papers. Spoilers, it won't work and I will have to rustle with papers. So, today's subject is the dark side of the moon logic. Really bad puzzles from adventure games. And my goodness, they're not good. That's why I've said really bad puzzles. I kind of wanted to call this Indiana Jones and the Logic of the Moon, which I thought was funny. Then I realised it's got nothing to do with Indiana Jones. So, that wouldn't really fly. So we went with the more standard moon logic thing. So, everybody loves a good puzzle, don't they? And of course, the definition of a good puzzle is one they can work out. Because, nobody likes puzzles they can't get the answer to. It's just human nature, really, isn't it? Now, a problem comes if you've got a video game that's chock full of puzzles, like, point-and-click adventures, etc. Hours and hours worth of puzzles, sometimes like 20, 30 hours worth of puzzles for a game. So they can't all be winners, can they? There's bound to be a couple that are a bit obtuse or strangely put together, but things can go beyond that. Beyond the event horizon of human logic, into the realm of moon logic, as they call it, where the mind of man cannot travel. Or at the very least, the mind of man can't work out what on earth the game designers were thinking of, can't solve the puzzle as a result, and get really angry. And that is what we're looking at today. Annoyingly stupid and bizarre puzzles that you couldn't work out in a million bloody years. And you're going to get stuck on them if you just can't brute force them by clicking on everything. Sometimes you can. Just click on everything in the inventory. Oh, it was that. Sometimes you can't even do that. So you're basically stuck until you read the walkthrough on the internet and then punch your screen in anger. So, I have 3 rules for this. Number 1, point-and-click adventures only. So it's going to be graphic adventures, no text adventures, nothing along those lines. 2, no, I don't know why I'm underlining this, you can see it. 2, no Sierra games. Because if we start getting into early Sierra games, that's about 43 talks in its own right. We would be here forever. And lastly, no really well-known examples. So we haven't got the goat puzzle from Broken Sword, which is infamous, the moustache puzzle from Gabriel Knight 3, which I still can't believe is in a game, and basically anything from the first Discworld game, because I don't know what they were on while they were making that, but it wasn't anything that helped them write puzzles. So, with that in mind, I've picked out 5 games that each harbour a particularly bad specific challenge for the player. Our first example of a horrid puzzle, and in fact our second example too, thinking about it, there's 2 in this one, comes from Operation Stealth. 1990 Delphine software for the Amiga, Atari ST and Microsoft DOS. Isn't that some of the best art going? It's amazing, isn't it? He looks nothing like the character in the game. The character in the game has a black suit, a black tie and dark hair, but we won't worry about that. It's astonishing. So, you play, in this game, Secret Agent John Glames, who... John Glames, who has been tasked with tracking down a stolen stealth fighter aircraft. Yes, John Glames. So you may have guessed, Operation Stealth is very heavily inspired by the James Bond films. In fact, in the USA, it got the Bond license and was released as James Bond 007, The Stealth Affair. But it was barely rewritten. Like, Bond is still working for the CIA and appears to be American in it. They really didn't try that hard, but we'll ignore that in that case. Anyway, I bought this game for the Atari ST back in the day, and I quite enjoyed it. It got good reviews. Yeah, it's good. I say I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it up to a point where the first interesting puzzle kicks in, and by interesting I mean crazy and incredibly annoying. It's actually pretty logical and fun up till then, and after that point most of the puzzles get daft. There are really, really abysmal action sequences. which, frankly, you could do a whole talk about himself. It's just so wrong-headed. And they totally drain all the fun out of the game, and I felt like I'd wasted 20 quid on the re-release. But anyway, I am going to highlight 2 puzzles from this game. The one I got stuck on was the inflatable bracelet. Basically, right, so what we've got here is a vendor on the beach wearing the world's best hat. That is John Glames. From the side, he is wearing sunglasses and has no nose. From the front, he doesn't have sunglasses and kind of doesn't have a mouth. It's very weird. Anyway, it was on a blurry CRT. It was fine. Right. So this guy on the beach is selling inflatable bracelets. Because of course he is. We've all bought an inflatable bracelet on holiday, haven't we? First thing you do when you get off the plane, better get my inflatable bracelet. You press a button, it goes whoop and inflates. Press another button, it deflates. Where does it get the air from? The moon! I don't know. So anyway, you're playing an adventure game, so you obviously buy an inflatable bracelet off the vendor, because you'd be mad not to, wouldn't you? So that's all good. So you buy one. Later on in the game, through a series of spy-like shenanigans, you are abducted by... Those are the guys who don't arm wrestle in this game. In fact, later action sequences, if you get anywhere near them, instant game over. Also, the guy who abducts you is you. There was some plot point for that. I think it's a coincidence that he looks exactly like you. I can't remember. How? It's a coincidence that he's wearing the same clothes as well. I don't understand. But anyway, we're not here to worry about that. Because we've got an inflatable bracelet, and we know it is going to be useful. So, we're abducted. We are taken off onto a boat where we are monologued by a villain. They then tie us to some rocks, as you can see there. Chuck you off into the sea and you drown. Fun. I remember that bit from all the James Bond films. Anyway, so obviously, you're going to need to use your magic inflatable bracelet to save yourself. But I couldn't work it out at all. You can't do anything at this stage because, as you can see, he's quite literally completely tied up. Like, you can't reach anything, you can't do anything. I thought, well, maybe he can reach the inflatable thing on his wrist. No, can't. Also, what good would that do? Because I doubt the small inflatable bracelet can offset the incredible weight of that rock, but let's not worry about it. So, this was it. You're on the boat, you drown. You're on the boat, you drown. As my friend John Robertson says, you die, you die, you die. That's it. I could not get past it. Great. So that sat there for about 6 months. Eventually, a magazine published a walkthrough again, because it was an old game by that stage, and I learned the magic secret. You have to inflate the bracelet before you're thrown off the boat. Okay. Somehow the people tying your wrists don't notice you've got a massive inflatable bracelet on your wrist. They're probably too busy flexing their giant pecs, I imagine. So they wrap the rope round it. Then, when you are going down at this stage, you can press the button again. It deflates. The rope becomes loose. Away you go. Hooray! So, I mean, that's not a mad puzzle, is it? I mean, it's not great. But here is the problem. It's not the worst puzzle in the world, but it's the way you have to activate it, right? The thing that made it impossible for me is that you have to inflate it while the villain character is monologuing during this bit. I didn't know you could access the menu during cutscenes, because usually you can't. That's the whole point of a cutscene. You don't have any control anymore. So you have to jam both mouse buttons, which brings up the menu, and then suddenly, you can press the button on the bracelet discreetly, and then it inflates.
Doesn't make a sound or anything like that.
Oh no, definitely not. I mean, there's a massive siren that goes, inflatable bracelet activated. But they ignore that. I mean, they're out at sea. There's probably water noise or something.
I hear a sudden hissing sound.
Excuse me. Yes, the beans I had earlier. Yeah. I mean, they're cutscenes. The whole point of a cutscene is you have no control during them. I'm still annoyed at this 30 years later. Anyway, I ended up following the walkthrough entirely from then on. I thought, no, I'm just going to go through the walkthrough, see what the game's like. Never did complete it because there's a series of hateful maze sequences which are virtually impossible, and I don't want to think about them. Anyway, the inflatable bracelet confusion is far from the worst puzzle in the game, though. There's another one that's much worse and involves potentially soft-locking your game quite early on, making it impossible to finish without giving you any clue that's happened. Nice. So, incidentally, that was something that also occurred in Delphine's previous point-and-click adventure game, Future Wars, so they learned nothing. So, halfway through the game, you go scuba diving to sneak into the villain's undersea island lair, because well, because James Bond, frankly. You go through several screens of this, almost identical looking assets, just put in different places. Avoiding these killer sharks, which are instant game over if you get near one. So it seems more of a sort of action sequence than a puzzly sequence, which is a shame for a very, very specific reason. Because once you get into the base, you can never come back here. And oh dear, if you haven't examined this exact piece of seaweed and discovered an elastic band, that's it. That's it. You cannot complete the game. Yep. And here's the real joy. You've now made the game unwinnable. You don't know. You don't use the rubber band until the very end of the game. It is the penultimate action you take. And this happens halfway through, right? What you have to do with the rubber band is you wrap it around the bomb on Dr. Y's helicopter. Yes, he's called Dr. Y. Let's not think too much about that. And then when he drops the bomb, it bungees, goes back up, and boom! Death to you, Dr. Y. And then you land safely in the dinghy, because James Bond. And then you win. But of course, if you don't have the elastic band, you can never win. And remember, it appeared halfway through the game, so you can play the entire second half of this game up to the very end without knowing it's completely impossible because you didn't examine a generic seaweed clump when you were trying not to get eaten by a shark. There's an absolute gaming crime. Anyway, rather than being locked up by the gaming police, Delphine Software went on to redeem themselves by producing the excellent Another World and the fabulous Flashback. And then they made Shaq Fu and everyone hated them forever.
Yeah.
Right, game number 2. Runaway, a road adventure. A popular game, I believe. I think it was Italy, may have been Spain. Can't remember where it came from, but quite popular, quite successful. Made in 2001 by Pendulo Studios, just for Windows. I think they may have released it on mobile later. I can't remember. So this game follows college student Brian Basco and his very vertical head, who gets caught up in the fallout of a murder as he travels across the country to the University of California. And it's pretty good. Pretty good game. It's well made, it's good fun, really nice graphics and sound. It's a decent game all round until you have to unlock a shed.
Oh, what?
Then things get very bad.
Oh.
So, have a look at this. You need some explosives. You know from this sign that there are explosives in this small shed. So, having a look at this, would anybody like to guess how you get in the shed? You don't have a key or anything sort of fairly obvious like that. Anybody want to guess? Sorry?
Not through that box.
Nope.
I'm going to be absolutely go on a whim and say you need a shovel to dig underneath it and get into the shed.
You see, that kind of makes sense. So you're way off.
Well, I give it a try.
Yeah.
Pick the
I'm
door.
a tower and jump off.
No.
Pick the door.
Is it underneath
No.
the end of the map?
Oh, no, there is no key.
Is that a shed or an outhouse?
Crowbar.
Could be an outhouse. Sorry?
Break through the window.
Break through the window.
It's got bars.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, it doesn't look like the particularly most solid shack either, does it? You could probably give the door a kick and you'd be in there, but adventure games.
Throw a rock at it.
Yeah, so,
Back down up there.
no, nobody's close yet.
Turn into a
Chaos
beaver.
magic.
Turn into a beaver. You're the closest.
It's got nothing to do with the pump.
Nothing to do with the pump, no, nothing to do with anything past this point.
The Encron crystal in his shoe.
Oh,
Again, that's a better solution than this puzzle.
okay.
This is apparently an anthill. That's relevant.
What?
Yes, termites. Because what you do to open the shed, of course, what fools we were, you throw peanut butter over it.
Get the peanut butter.
Yeah, I promise you that is peanut butter.
How does he get the peanut butter?
Oh, we'll get onto that.
Oh, my God.
That's part of it. So yeah, you hurl some peanut butter on the outhouse thing, and then all the ants come. And he specifically calls them ants, but I think they must think they're termites or something, because they eat all the wood, and then the shed's gone, and he can pick up the explosives.
But they don't attack him.
Absolutely perfect. Oh no, he's not made of wood. He's fine. He's not a witch. He's absolutely fine. Yeah. So, as the bonus, as you mentioned, how do you get the peanut butter? Well, by this stage of the game, you've got butter, you've got peanuts, and you've got like a military helmet you can use as a bowl. So, okay, that's weird, but it's adventure games, that's fine. So all you need to do is melt the butter. How would you melt butter in real life? Of course, you would put it on the lid of a freezer.
He's in the desert compares.
Well, yeah, it'd probably just melt if you left it in. It's melted when he's carrying it around the desert, probably, you know.
You don't make peanut butter with butter, it's just peanuts.
No. It's definitely a load of butter with a handful of peanuts in. That's going to be fantastic. To be fair, the game does kind of say, it's not really peanut butter, but it's good enough kind of thing. So they kind of handwave. They don't handwave the fact that you throw peanut butter on an outhouse to destroy it, but let's not worry about that. So, yeah, with the sun beating down on the freezer lid, it must be hot enough to fry an egg. You see? So there's a bit of logic to it, but the problem is, as you said, it would have just melted anyway. You're carrying butter in the desert. Dearie me. Anyway, so you heat things up by putting them on the freezer. Yay. Absolutely fantastic. I mean, it does make some sense, but I'm still sticking with the fact that throwing peanut butter on a shed to get inside makes no sense whatsoever bloody ever. So, very pleased to say that Pendulo Studios, who made this, are still going, and their games are getting better and better. They ended up making 3 adventure games in this Runaway series, some sort of hidden object spin-off, and a few years back they released Black Sad Under the Skin, which was, you may have heard of, very popular on Steam and stuff. And they're about to release a tie-in game for Belgian boy detective Tintin.
Oh, okay.
With his hair and his little dog.
I can use that knuckle duster on there.
Use the knuckle duster to make peanut butter. Well, it makes more sense in the shed. But it's inside. Oh no, yeah.
There's more sense.
I would quite like to see that in an adventure game. I need to open this shed. I will punch it to death. That's the answer. Oh my God. Well, at least Pendulo are doing well. Long gone are the days when they threw butter at the wall and, well, see what stuck, really. Right, next game. Hopkins FBI. That's right, he's an FBI agent. He doesn't run the entire FBI, I don't think. 1998 NP Entertainment for OS2 Warp, BIOS, Linux and Windows. I don't think I've ever seen a game released for OS2 Warp before, which is like an old business, but in 98 as well. A hideously out-of-date business operating system. And apparently that was the lead operating system they developed for. Absolutely bizarre. I've got no answer for that whatsoever. One point of interest, Hopkins FBI may be the first commercial game that was ever released on Linux. Nobody seems quite sure, but it's a good contender. So, Hopkins FBI has lovely graphics and sound, very cartoony and nice. Sadly, the actual design is horrible on multiple levels. It's an abysmal game, full of incredible stupidity, horrible, creepy gore and nudity. It's quite unpleasant, frankly. The whole thing is pretty nonsensical logic-wise for the puzzles. I don't know, they seem to have been going for some kind of surreal humour thing, but they have come up incredibly short for it, frankly. But as always, some puzzles are much worse than others. So, the plot is you control FBI agent Hopkins, there's the hint there, who is on the trail of criminal mastermind and serial killer, Bernie Berkson. There he is, looking creepy.
That's a name.
Berkson. So, basically, at one point in the game, he is sending you riddles to find a series of murdered women, in the hope that at the end, he'll give you the information needed to save a different woman. Yeah, spoilers. He doesn't, and she dies too, because why would you trust a mad serial killer? He's probably not going to be giving you particularly good information, is he? But hey, FBI guy goes along with it for a considerable portion of the game, frankly. Anyway, the second clue he gives you, which I cannot show you on the screen because it's incredibly rude picture, because that's the sort of game this is, unfortunately.
Yeah.
It says, "Warm will be the king, checkmate he will be." Warm will be the king, checkmate he will be. Now, what on earth could that mean? Well, it's actually not difficult to work out at all, because you have access to a museum which has a waxwork of Louis XVI. And so Warm will be the king. He's standing next to a fireplace with logs in it. So, this is fairly obvious, really, isn't it? You need to light the fireplace. Louis XVI there will melt, and I don't know, probably reveal a corpse inside or something weird. In fact, that is literally what happens. That's absolutely correct. So, you've worked it out. That was easy. It's good at it. So where's the problem? It's the way you have to light the fire. You have a cigarette lighter. I mean, this sounds like a good start, doesn't it, to be fair? But when you try and use it, the game tells you, my lighter's not powerful enough. So your cigarette lighter doesn't have the power to start fires? Okay, whatever. So would anyone like to suggest something that does have the power to set light to some logs in this game?
The sun?
The sun? Flamethrower? No. Sorry?
The lighting. Yeah.
The lighting. You see, you're using proper logic again. Things that are actually on the screen. Oh.
I'm going to go out the window
See
saying
what you see.
magnifying glass.
It's magnifying? That's far too sensible. Oh, no. Yeah. Gentleman there?
Steel?
Sorry?
Flint and steel?
Flint and steel would kind of make sense, because that might be knocking around. Nope, no.
Atomic bomb.
Yeah. Sorry, what's...
Atomic bomb.
Atomic bomb. You're getting closer. Think overkill.
That's overkill.
Yeah, it is all about overkill, this.
Napalm.
No, peanut butter. That makes sense. That would be perfectly logical, yeah.
Fire ants this time.
Yeah.
Napalm.
Napalm, you're very close with napalm. What you do is you set it on fire with a Molotov cocktail.
Really?
Yeah. You know,
Still need a lighter to...
oh yeah, but Hubble is light is powerful enough for that, apparently, just not to start that. It's best not to think about it. So, you got a bottle of highly flammable spirits with a burning rag stuck in the top, and that is the way you light it. So the solution is, you make a Molotov cocktail from just items you've picked up around, and you throw it in the fireplace. Not to cause a massive alcohol explosion and burn the place down, which is what would happen, but to light a fire in a fireplace. So, let's just think about this. An FBI agent throws a Molotov cocktail in a public place full of children and other people so he can warm up a waxwork.
And no one freaks out about it.
Oh, no, it's fine. Yeah, it happens every day. Yeah. I mean, maybe he could have. Right, here's a thought. Maybe he could have used his FBI powers to get the museum staff to just check out the statue. And they'd have gone, oh, yeah, there's a corpse in it. Sorry. You know. But no time for that. We're going to hurl lethal firebombs around public places, because that's what the FBI does, apparently. Yeah. Absolutely amazing. It's got to be one of the most reckless and stupid puzzle answers in gaming history until we get to number 5, but we won't worry about that.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, apologies for the lack of screenshots here, by the way, but, like, everything is nudity and gore, and, yeah, we're just going to have to skip past that. Exactly. So, thank you very much, MP Entertainment, for that little gem. They never made another game, incidentally. They planned a sequel to Hopkins FBI, but the company just disappeared. I can only presume they tried to clear a paper jam in their office with a thermonuclear warhead or something. Right, next up, Chaos on Deponia.
Ooh, okay.
Chaotic. 2012, Daedalic Entertainment for Windows, Mac OS X, Linux, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Nintendo Switch, all your favourites. So, this is really good, genuinely a really good game. There is just sort of one bad puzzle in it. So it's a comedy sci-fi adventure, a sequel to a game called Deponia, about this guy called Rufus there, who is trying to escape the planet Deponia, which is literally a giant waste dump. And as I said, it's a really good game. By far the best point-and-click adventure I'm covering today. And the Runaway one's pretty good, to be honest. But it has a puzzle that makes you want to print out the game's source code just so you can jump up and down on it. Right. At one point, you need to get into a gadget shop. Specifically, this gadget shop. There it is, being all gadgety. This is weird. Is that showing the entire picture? Yes, it is. It's so visually obscure. I honestly thought it wasn't showing it. This is the gadget shop, and you can see there's a tiny cat in the window, so I couldn't make it out. I had to look at the screen. Tiny little pussy cat. And there's a bloody great cat flap. So, and there's also a food bowl for the cat. So this shouldn't be much of a problem. Your character, who's hiding behind that lamppost for some reason, surely just needs to go through the cat flap. But, wait for it. The cat flap is not interactable. It is just a background item. You can't do anything with it. You can't click on it. You can't interact with it in any way. So, I mean, what else could you try and tempt the cat out of the house? And that is the solution. So, obviously, you've got the food bowl there. Right, we're going to give the cat some food. How do you get cat food on this planet? Well, you go to this place, where they're doing all the science with dolphins, and there are some baby dolphins in a pool. Oh, yes.
Well,
So what you do
Why is it glowing?
is you say, I don't know why it's glowing. It's not a good sign, is it?
oh my gosh! If someone told that to Peter, I swear. Yeah, well, we want.
This is their favourite game. So they put up a nice burning tyre there, because of course you do, over the kitchen sort of window. So there's like a serving hatch window that leads into a kitchen. You put up a burning tyre outside it, put fish bait in it, and then the baby dolphins jump through it into the kitchen, and you are returned with some cans of tuna. So apparently the guy in the kitchen is just sitting in there, some dolphins fly in the window, and says, right, I'm going to kill them and put them in tuna tins. Fantastic. So
Suspicious glowing.
you then take the tin of tuna, empty it into the cat's bowl, and the cat comes out. Here's the thing. How does that help? The cat's outside the house now. Brilliant. How do we do anything? Well, because you fed the cat flap is now interactable. Why wasn't it interactable before? I don't know. Apparently the main character here, old Rufus, just didn't notice the cat flap until the cat went through it. But, like, it's a different colour to the rest of the door. It's massive. It's got obvious hinges. And why does it matter if he doesn't notice it anyway? It's all about the player clicking on things. And I have no answer to this whatsoever.
Yeah.
And it's quite cruel to dolphins. I don't know if you picked up on that. But, yeah,
That's
there we are.
my bad, yeah.
Right, we'll not dwell on this one as the Deponia games, there's 4 of them now, I think, are all pretty great, to be honest, apart from that puzzle. Daedalic Entertainment made absolutely loads of good adventure games, actually, and are about to release one about Gollum from Lord of the Rings, which is quite cool. Yeah, just hope Gollum doesn't have to turn a horse into glue before he'll notice a hobbit or something. Right, next up. The Mystery of the Druids. Oh,
yeah.
Any people aware of this game? Streamers like it on Twitch.
I'm sort of aware of this. This is like kind of like one of the worst rated ones apparently because of its
Yep.
look and art and some of that. I watched it the other day on YouTube or something. I heard somehow.
It's not a good game. Hey brother, it's Pastamania time.
And I'm not kidding you. It is on Steam.
Oh yeah,
It
yeah.
is on Steam right now. I'm not
A
kidding.
company specifically bought the rights to this game from the other company, which I think is amazing because it's a big game. I can find little else nice to say about it. So anyway, it's an infamously odd game, and by odd I mean absolutely batshit, frankly. It's a hot mess full of weird puzzles, bizarrely rude, mad characters, nasty bugs, keeps going wrong all the time, great, and a plot that makes absolutely no sense whatsoever, frankly. But one of the puzzles near the start is so astonishingly wrong-headed that I seriously doubt if it will ever be beaten for the sheer madness of it. Yep, that's why this one's coming in last. You play Scotland Yard detective Brent Halligan. Sound very American for a Scotland Yard detective, but whatever. And he's investigating a series of particularly grisly murders. So you've got all of Scotland Yard behind you, very serious investigation. Bear that in mind. Now, near the start of the game, you have to, wait for it, make a phone call. I mean, you think that wouldn't be much of a problem for a Scotland Yard detective, really, would you? I mean, it's set in the days before mobiles, but... You know, you got a phone on your desk.
Yeah.
That's a phone, that is. Shouldn't be a problem here, should it? Except, I'm going to be saying except a lot here, you can't get an outside line because apparently Halligan has been making loads of personal international calls and got caught and had his rights revoked. Professionalism. So he can't make an external phone call. But that's not a problem. You're in bloody Scotland Yard. They've probably got a spare phone somewhere. So you wander around and ask everyone else in the office, can I borrow your phone, please? They all refuse. Presumably because they think you're going to phone Barbados again or something. Yeah. No, Darlington, is that it? Yeah, that's it. You can't use any phone in the building. You are such a bad detective. You have been banned from using everyone's phones.
Also, the guy that's sitting there, he's just like floating in midair or something.
Yeah. There's a lot of that. It's best not to think too much about it. No worries. So, you can't get an outside line. Nobody else will let you use your phone. So now your only option is a telephone box you stumbled on earlier. Okay, fairly simple. But old Sherlock Holmes here has lost his wallet, which had his coins in. So, you have to go back to the office and ask if anyone can lend you a few pence. They all refuse. Nobody will lend him 10 pence. This is how little the people think of Halligan in this game. There's a good reason. He is a maniac. It's more because of how the game's written, but there we are. So, nobody will lend you a few pence. You are stuck. Brilliant. But, here's the thing. You did actually stumble on some coins earlier in the game. They belong to this homeless man who is begging. Oh no, it gets much, much worse, don't worry. So, yep, as you have all correctly guessed, you have to steal what tiny amount of money a homeless man has to further your inquiries into a massive murder investigation.
Right next to a bag that's named Walrus.
Well, yeah, got a Woolworths bag and a Guinness bag, so it's quite nice attention to detail. I like to think Coca-Cola's. I like to think that they actually went to Woolworths and got the rights, and they're like, yes, but a detective who steals from homeless men will be really on brand for you, you know. So, basically, the man here asks for a drink, right? So you realise you're going to have to get him some booze. And then, I don't know, maybe he'll let you take a coin or something? Okay, fair enough. So how does a Scotland Yard detective with no money get an alcoholic drink? Well, you do have some apple juice in your inventory at this stage. Right, I've said that as if you're going to make cider out of it or something. That does not happen by any stretch of the imagination. So this is what you need to do to proceed in the game. Strap yourselves in, folks. First up, you go to the Scotland Yard laboratory, and you imply that the lab technician is an alcoholic who is drinking the pure ethanol they keep there. He is not, because it would kill him.
Yeah.
He dares you to try some. Yes, he dares you to drink absolute alcohol, which is, of course, highly toxic. I think about 2/3 of a can of Coke of that, you've got about a 0% survival chance. So, thanks, lab technician. Also, notice the lovely smooth cutscene graphics they've kicked in here. So, he dares you to try some. Obviously, you're not going to do that. Oh, wait, yes, you do.
Don't have to ask me.
So, he, of course, blacks out. Scotland Yard's finest, everybody. Yeah, blacks out. Fortunately, doesn't die. He does survive and wakes up later when the technician is gone. So now you've got to steal the ethanol. But you can't do that directly because Detective Halligan, Detective Scotland Yard Detective Halligan can't work out which bottle it's in. I'll give you a hint. For anyone who hasn't noticed, there are two of them and they say 90% ethanol on them in big letters. So you have to use fingerprint powder on the bottles so you can see which bottle the technician picked up. This makes no sense. All the bottles would be covered in fingerprints. Nobody wipes their fingerprints off a bottle in a laboratory when they're fitted. Let's not think too much about it, much like the puzzle makers didn't. So, you've now got some ethanol, some lovely lethal to humans ethanol. And you mix it up with the apple juice in a flask, give it to the homeless man who drinks it. And you kill him.
Yeah. Oh, no.
Well, I'm not 100% sure it kills him. He maybe just blacks out. I can't remember, but I'm pretty sure he just collapses and that's the end of it. So he's probably dead. That is the end of the puzzle and the end of him, presumably. So you're now free to steal all his coins and make that phone call. What a hero, Detective Halligan. We salute you. What a guy. What a guy. So there we are. Look, he's put his 10p in there. Again, they've used a logo they're probably not allowed to. Let's not think about that. So in order to make a phone call, you have to imbibe a toxic chemical, potentially murder a homeless man, and steal all his money. That is how things are done in Scotland Yard. I mean, right, here's a thought. If things were that bad, maybe Halligan could have gone back to his house where there's going to be a phone, as opposed to nearly killing himself and almost definitely killing somebody else. Maybe he's got some coins in his house. Think about that. Rather than, risking his life and potentially murdering someone. So strange. How are you supposed to work that out? I don't know. But you can kind of do it just by clicking on everything. And the whole time you're just going, please don't make me kill the homeless man. Please don't make me kill that. The homeless man is dead. It is my fault. So this was the first game that House of Tales made. You won't be surprised to hear. They did get a lot better with later releases, bless them. I mean, I feel like I'm damning them with faint praise there, but there we are. So there we go. That was a few examples of how not to write a puzzle for a video game. Now, I appreciate it's always going to be difficult, because as much as we all like to believe that, we think logically, what we describe as logic tends to be subjective, and what makes sense to one person doesn't make sense to another person, blah, blah, blah. But regardless, if murdering someone to make a phone call makes sense to you, seek help immediately. If not, sooner. Oh, we've got 5 minutes left. I've got some more slides. This isn't officially part of the talk. Face the other way. You mustn't see this bit, it's secret. Go on. I'm going to jump into, just very quickly, a little extra bonus one. From a Sierra game, so I lied at the start, but it's not one of their early ones. This is from Phantasmagoria 2, A Puzzle of Flesh, which is an astonishingly good name for a horror game. The problem is, all the puzzles are daft. The game itself is quite interesting. It's like a big FMV full screen thing, and it's done really well, astonishingly well for the time. It cost them something like $4.5 million to make back in the day, which was astonishing. And they didn't sell anywhere near enough copies, and that was the end of this kind of genre. But this game does exist. And right near the start of the game, I really hope this is the version of the slideshow with the extra slides. Yes! You play this incredibly gormless man who...
It's an angry video game.
James Rolfe, The Adventure. A Puzzle of Flesh? A Puzzle of Santa Christ? I don't know. Anyway, right early on, he wants to leave the house, as often you do in a puzzle game, but he has lost his wallet. You find his wallet, it's under the sofa. Yay! What? It's very dark under the sofa. There he is, looking for it under the sofa. FMV. So... it's not really a problem. It's under the sofa. There's a wallet. He's looking at it. He reaches for it. He can't reach it. It's about that far away. Adventure games. Let's not worry about that. So how do you reach a wallet that you can't reach that's under a sofa? You, of course, get your pet rat to do it. He literally picks his pet rat up and goes, "Go and get my wallet," basically.
I understand, master.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Yes, master, I will retrieve your wallet. And there he is going under to get it. But then he just sits under there and he won't come out. So you crunch up a granola bar and it tempts the rat out, who comes out with your wallet. How the rat carries the wallet and the granola bar, I don't know. How the rat carries the wallet at all, I'm not entirely sure. And how on earth you're supposed to work out that you get a wallet by being weird with your pet, I've got no idea whatsoever. But that is one of the very first puzzles in the game, and it gets less and less logical from there. Although, to be fair, it is a horror game that involves sort of multiple dimensions and all sorts of weird things. So we'll let them off later on. I'm not letting them off for expecting us to know that he's got a magic rat. I feel that should be something that's mentioned in every single part of the game, frankly, because it's amazing. This game should be called Billy and the Magic Rat. Character's name probably isn't Billy, but it should be. Anyway, that is enough of all of that. Thank you very much for listening to Bad Puzzles. Thank you.